Greetings. This is Doc Ock coming at you live and direct from Black Facts Headquarters Central here in lovely downtown Kent, Ohio. Yes, we're going to take you higher tonight with the continuing saga of Abraham Hannibal and the Raiders of the Sand, our featured story for the month of July. Yes, as we tell tales of Ethiopia and Emperor Haile Selassie, his imperial majesty, conquering line of the tribe of Judah, ruler of the 3,000-year Solomonic dynasty of Ethiopia, Jah Rastafari, Haile Selassie I. Now, as we go ahead and continue our story, you know there's a few things we need you to do as well. Number one, go ahead and give us a like. If you're watching us on Facebook, if you're watching on YouTube, give us the old thumbs up, and then go ahead and spread the word far and wide to the ends of the earth that we have a live stream over here that is taking birth and will soothe your heart and give you plenty of mirth. Absolutely. Spread the news far and wide. And in the meanwhile, we'll go ahead and get on with the getting on. We will do our proverb of the night. En un momentito, por favor, mi amigo y amiga. Yep, because we're just about ready here to rock and roll. Let's see what kind of proverb we have for tonight. Here we go here. Now this one sounds very familiar. We have one in English like this one too. And this one is, I think this is an Ashanti proverb probably. Yeah, it's an Ashanti proverb. He who cannot dance will say the drum is bad. He who cannot dance will say the drum is bad. How about that? He who cannot dance will say the drum is bad. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Meanwhile, let's move ahead, move along, because we got a story to tell that's really very strong about Abraham Hannibal and the Raiders of the Sands. Now, the last time we left off, Abraham Hannibal was getting ready to go on a journey to Gondar with his father, the Lord of the Sea. The Lord of the Sea. So here we go again, walking into, oh, no, that's not what we're doing. Okay, here we go again with the continuation of the story of Abraham Hannibal. Chapter 12, the end of Butterfly. The rest of the journey to Gondar seemed one long up out of the hot river valley, then up and up and up along a dreadful path. All loose stones or slippery rock, with a sheer cliff above and a sheer cliff below. Hardly wide enough for a boy, never mind a loaded donkey. Even with his tough-soled bare feet and their strong toes, used to scrambling and clinging onto rocks. Abraham had some nasty scares. Often the path disappeared altogether. And when it did go down, that only meant that it soon went up again, even further to make up for the fact that it just went down. The air soon became cooler, and at night it was miserably cold. The houses they passed seemed flimsy things for such a cold place. Not sturdy stone with solid roofs like the houses at home, but round huts of sticks and clay with straw roofs. The villagers seemed friendly enough, even though they spoke quite a different language from his own. He knew it was the language of Gondar because Granny Esther often used to talk in it, especially when she told her stories of the marvels of the palace where she had grown up, and father used to speak it with some of their most important visitors. Poor Butterfly. Maybe she had panicked stupidly in the terrible river, but she still didn't deserve what happened on day 32. Abraham was walking, not riding, not because he wasn't chatting to anyone. There wasn't room to walk side by side, and besides, he didn't have any spare breath, but because he felt safer on his own 2 feet. And as it turned out, that was a wise decision. It was getting dark, darker than they normally traveled in this difficult countryside, but the only place open enough for a camp was still some ways ahead. Suddenly, above the noise of gentle panting, the occasional whinny, the clop, clop, and scuffle of hooves on the rocks, there was a loud rushing boom, and a mass of rocks was suddenly roaring down the mountainside above the path. It hit the path just in front of Butterfly, carrying away the 2 mules ahead of her and tearing a great gap before it carried on down the slope. Butterfly, terrified by the noise and the speed of all this, and faced with a big hole in front of her, reared up on her hind legs, came down awkwardly, stumbled, and knocked the edge of the path away, and Abraham was able to see from the far side of the hole through the gray twilight, the white form of Butterfly slither over the edge, and with the last neigh of despair, hurtle down into the darkness. And that was the end of Butterfly. January into February 1703, at the Emperor's Palace, chapter 13. The sun was at its highest, and he had to squeeze up his eyes against the fierce glare when he first saw Gondar. The steep path was leveling out, and the caravan was beginning to spread over the hillside. When there above him was the city, a great mass of straw-thatched huts with green trees in between, and above them, like the pictures of Jerusalem in stories of the kings, the high stone walls of the palace compound, and behind the walls, the towers and battlements of the royal castles. Gondar, Abraham called Pharez, the lord of the sea. Yes, father, you will ride with me through the city. Mount your mule, son. They had found a replacement mule for Abraham, a steady brown mare called Trusty. Yeah, that's what you really want on those mountain roads. A mule named Trusty. But he normally only rode her when he was desperately tired. He and his father and some dozen of his chief warriors left the caravan on the outskirts of the city and rode through the dusty alleyways until they came to the high brown battlemented walls. And their herald blew his horn in front of a huge gate. They were led through a great courtyard full of stone buildings, not just 2-storied like his father's palace, but looming 3 and 4 stories tall. Looming 3 and 4 stories high, with towers higher still, and with more windows and bigger ones than he had ever seen in his life, past a big square fish pond and through the great door of one of the palaces. Then through room after room, their walls and ceilings glowing with paintings and gold, until at last they were led into a hall, where at the far end sat cross-legs on his throne the King of Kings, the conquering Lion of the tribe of Judah, the Emperor Jesus the Great, surrounded by rows of his great lords, all standing in absolute silence. Now, we actually call him Iyasu the first, but Jesus the Great is how it translates into English. Abraham watched to see what his father was going to do. Pharez, the Lord of the Sea, strode forward to the throne and lay down flat on the floor, then knelt and kissed the emperor's foot 3 times in all. The Lord of the Sea has brought the King of Kings the tribute that is his due, rang out his father's voice. The emperor nodded. The King of Kings thanks the Lord of the Sea for his gifts. His followers may approach. One by one, Abraham and then the chiefs did as his father had done. Then there were endless grand speeches on both sides. But Abraham wasn't listening, he was looking. It was wonderful, like standing in the middle of a picture in Stories of the Kings. The whole room, even the ceiling, was painted with palm trees, except where it had huge mirrors set into the walls and ivory frames. To think that every one of those mirrors had crossed the terrible river. The throne was of gold with red and gold cushions, and Jesus the Great himself was a blaze of color and gold in a long robe of blue velvet with huge dangling sleeves and little gold flowers all over it. He had a gold striped veil round his head and pulled across his mouth, and curly-toed slippers with pearls all over them. Abraham stared and stared at him. I wouldn't want to get on the wrong side of him. He does have sensible eyes, but they've got a strict sort of look about them, like father on one of his angry days. The lords were all wearing the most amazing bright robes. He didn't even know the names of the colors, with gold bracelets and brooches galore. And then suddenly Abraham jumped. At the end of the front row stood a white man, but not like Yanni at all. He was much paler for a start, with curiously light eyes, a sort of sky blue, and he didn't have a beard. And although he did seem very old, his hair was like a huge white sheep's fleece, or maybe a thorn tree in blossom. He wore strange, tight leg coverings right down to his big, shiny shoes with heavy, high heels, and a funny, wide-skirted coat decorated with silver. He caught Abraham staring and very slowly winked one of his sky blue eyes. Abraham, embarrassed, looked down at his feet. Suddenly, as Abraham was in a daydream about Nimrod and where the emperor kept his lions, he heard his name. He is a young boy to make such a long journey, my lord, but it was a kind of reward. Grandmothers by the fireside are already telling stories about his deeds. Is that so, Pharez? Tell us all, if you and he are not too tired. And the Lord of the Sea told the story of the elephants, with Abraham's narrow escapes in the terrible river and on the mountainside, thrown in for good measure. Everyone clapped politely at the end, and Abraham could see the white man staring at him while someone whispered bushy hair into whose ear? I'm trying to figure out whose ear. Abraham could see the white man staring at him while someone whispered busily into his ear, translating, he supposed, into the white man's language. So, Abraham said to the emperor, it seems as if you have great things ahead of you. If you have started so young, come here. Abraham stepped right up onto the base of the throne, and the King of Kings put his hands on his shoulder and looked at him. You will make a good friend for my son, Alim. You and he are of an age. And so that's as far as we got today. As far as we're going to get today. So we'll pick up tomorrow on the beginning of chapter 14. And in the meanwhile, we're going to give you all a righteous send-off and let you go ahead on through the rest of the night. Hopefully, all you liquor ones out there will be taking your liquor head and putting it on your liquor pillow, on your liquor bed. And closing those your eyes until you feel the sunbeams beaming down on your eyes, telling you that it's time to rise and shine, oh children of mine. Because a new day is dawning and it's going to be yours. So when the day arises, seize the day. Grab it by the hind parts and ride it for all it's worth. Don't be one of those who gets up late at midday. Get up early and catch a full day. Get a full day's experience. You got plenty of time. It's the summertime and you're not in school. Don't be a fool. Use your time wisely while you're not in school. And as for you adults, you know what you need to do. Number one, give us a like if you're watching on Facebook. Number two, give us a thumbs up if you're watching us on YouTube. And third, but not least, make sure to subscribe to the Tubular Black Facts channel below. If you're on Facebook, come on over to our YouTube channel and sign up. Tubular Black Facts, right here on YouTube. That's the place to be, as you soon will see. Meanwhile, we're going to give a shout out to Cosim Roots. Give Cosim a shout out. And then we're going to go ahead and go to our extra. It's time for the extra.